Hey guys, Mathel here once again. Keepers of the Flame, as we just then saw, was announced and basically Breach 2.0. So I want to do a bit of an overview about the entire thing. It's not going to be a massive overview. There's not too much to go over, I don't think, because it's just some pretty condensed cool shit. Not, vast amounts of stuff out there. But overall, I think it's looking pretty good. We got a few nice surprises, ascendancy stuff, stuff like that. A few new skills, and big look at wanding and all that. And yeah, let's just go over it real quick and see what the new league has in store for us. So, as they started out the trailer, there's apparently secret order of monks or some shit that, something to do with breach and containing breach. And overall, basically, we're just getting a bit of extra breach lore to go with kind of what was already happening in PoE 2 a bit, more like Zesht, the big breach baddie guy there. Don't know if we'll end up fighting him or anything like that in this, but there should be some bosses at the end of the whole thing. Overall, we're looking at just an updated version of Breach. Breach was like, I don't know, 10 years ago at this point, and a big crowd pleaser. People love the older circle and then kill stuff, right? Expanding circle kill stuff. And this looks like it's delivering in a pretty big way with that because yeah, updated thing. It kind of just looks like PoE 2 Breach, but more intense. And then there's going to be a few variables to it where you can like go up a tower, sort of like an abyssal depths, but up. We get a tree to kind of craft things with. Which is going to be pretty interesting. It could end up being just basically like Necropolis 2.0, where you just print insane items, or it could just be something for like, fun, unique corrupts. And then, of course, there's going to be a few new bosses and a few new items. And then, of course, the big thing I think is potentially going to be the uniques that get corrupted. Grafts are going to be a pretty cool thing. The new skills and supports, of course, looking pretty juicy, mostly for wands and yeah, we got all that too. New ascendancies and stuff. It was a pretty big one, but I'd say it's fairly condensed. Like I said, it's not too much to really go over. Trade is a pretty large one, but we've already experienced that and felt it through PoE 2, and we know that's an absolute banger. So with that, let me just go into the actual announcement here, go over this real quick, and then the patch notes, and just have a quick wrap up as to what I think is going to happen or what's being affected. So, Keepers of the Flame, Order of the Keepers, blah blah blah, new challenge league, going to be like breach sort of stuff. You're going to come across a hand sometimes. You're going to do it immediately as well. Is actually pretty good, like from mud flats onwards, and then defend the thing, kill stuff, pretty business as usual, right? The more you kill, the better the juice you get to then upgrade your tree. So that's kind of a pretty streamlined mechanic there. And the tree itself is supposed to be kind of the big thing for the league. So what we've got is some kind of gruesome hand tree that's going to be birthing items and whatever. But the whole point here is that you're going to be like incubating certain items and stuff or grafts and customizing it to your will. So do you want to make like movement speed boots? Do you want to have them, have chaos res, stuff like that? Like I said, has potential to be kind of like Necropolis, but hopefully it can just do some cool stuff. Not necessarily just tediously print like T1 mirror kind of items. But then there's going to be uniques that get some mods taken away, some mods added. So old uniques can have some kind of new life breathed into them, but not all uniques are going to be doing that. So they've already like just picked out a fairly decent amount, they say, and they're going to be pretty crazy by the looks of it. And then grafts are kind of the big thing for this league. So grafts are going to be just a couple extra things you attach to your character, which is very reminiscent of during the Sanctum League, like relics, where you'd sanctified relics, I think they were called, which is just a bit of power creep for your character, going to do a bit of extra something, but also give you an extra couple of abilities to press, which in this case, hopefully, are well enough balanced that they can do some crazy shit. Basically, you're going to be treating these as just outside sources for damage, so you can't scale them with your character's abilities and stuff. So that means that there's got to be just way less variables for craziness because it's not up to you to discover how to scale these really. And use your character's stats and all that. Instead, they're just kind of giving you a certain thing here, and I think that means that it should be much more of a static thing, and it's either going to be pretty damn good and everyone's going to have a pretty good experience with it, or it's going to be fairly lackluster and doesn't do enough. So yeah, we'll see how that goes down. But it looks like they're starting off with, on the right foot, big damage for, some kind of extra utility during maps and stuff that everyone's going to get to experience. So I think it has potential to be just a nice extra button to press for a lot of your characters. Otherwise, like I said, just a good little bit of extra power creep, which gives you a bit of, extra stats on your character. And of course, it looks like there's going to be different tiers, different levels of them, because these require level 80 to use, and they're level 30 skills. Of course, you would imagine there's going to be much lower level ones, and you can get them on a lot earlier. So the other thing that's coming from this tree is new currency types, or just kind of like improved currency from previous types. So what we're doing is we've got implants. This stuff is going to be, to do the actual grafts themselves, extra, stats, or corrupting them, stuff like that. But there's basically going to be something like the PoE2 currency of like, greater and, perfect exalts, but for PoE1 and not quite as, specific. So it's going to be higher level modifiers being more likely, meaning it might still not give you a certain good outcome when you try and use this thing. Whereas in PoE2 at the moment they've got like a minimum eye level of modifiers, so it's just going to eliminate a lot of modifiers. This one sounds like it would just give you the higher chance, but you can still roll some pretty crap stuff. So that for Regals, Exalts should be pretty big, should spice things up quite a lot. And then this is what we're talking about, some of the corrupted items that corrupted uniques can have some pretty crazy stuff happening. This one in particular gives max life instead of your fire or res in the radius. Pretty nutty. So that could be a lot of extra life. Or this one here means that took something away and then damage cannot be reflected. That could be pretty damn convenient. Some things like that sound like they're going to be pretty cool to just incubate your unique, just a random unique, and then see what will happen. So I think that one will be pretty fun. Other than that, you're destroying the hive, so you're going to randomly come across these throughout your mapping experience. Like I said, going to be kind of like an abyssal depths sort of mechanic, but you're not going down, you're kind of going up onto a like little citadel style thing. Kind of new monsters, kind of new stuff there. New skills and supports. These look fairly crazy. So it looks like it's basically a focus on wanding and then kind of on bow as well. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be pretty damn thick. Don't know about the conflagration one to begin with. That one might not have enough base number damage for like the ignite portion to do that much ignite or like, fire damage over time. But as an actual explosive skill, it could still be pretty good. Other than that, the Wind Burst brings some PoE2 kind of tech into PoE1 with like extra tornadoes and circles and stuff. This could be an absolute clear speed monster. The base duration on these secondary things, so basically like a sort of spark mechanic, is 4 seconds. Scale that up, you're going to have tornadoes just fucking messing around the entire screen and off screen. And this one has potential to be pretty thick, I think. And then Kinetic Rain, the new wanding skills just look delicious. So hopefully the new wanding skills actually end up being pretty damn nice. And I expect they will, because mechanically they look very strong, and you can even get them pretty damn early into the game, so leveling with them is going to be fun too. Bloodline ascendancies is pretty nutty. So these things are going to be just attachments onto any ascendancy you currently want to play. And you can pick any of these. All you got to do is kill the respective boss on your character that houses this sort of ascendancy. So they're going to be like kind of end game bosses. Here we've got Ultimatum Mans, we've got Oshabi, we've got Wildwood Bro. And yeah, take any of these down, and then you can attach a couple extra points if you want from your regular ascendancy onto this instead. So you're still only going to have 8 ascendancy points, but as you know, there's plenty of ascendancies where you get like your 4 main points or your 6 main points, and that's really what you wanted from your ascendancy. And then you got a couple of points that you're not too happy with, and you kind of just do something with them. So it's going to open up a lot of possibilities to just actually finish off your ascendancy with those last couple points to something you really want to do, something quite strong. And there will be some pretty strong options, like, extra cock ring over here. Once again, PoE2 tech. But it does come at a pretty big cost on this sort of ascendancy over here. So you can't use belts, can't use flasks, utility flasks anyway, and can't use amulets. They're all pretty hefty prices in this case, but for my money, just looking at these, I'd say the can't use belts one is probably going to be, the best option because, yeah, if you got a mage blood, sure, fucking use a mage blood. But if you don't, plenty of builds will not get that much power out of a belt slot. It can just be kind of like a resist life slot. So if you sacrifice that, you're unaffected by bleeding, and then you get a ring slot, which usually is actually a pretty powerful slot for almost every build. So that's just a small example there of some of the power that can come from these. Stuff like this looks pretty damn good. Some of the ultimatum stuff for Vile Souls and stuff. This in particular, I think I could have used on the Vile Burning Arrow build I just did. And overall, we're going to be exploring all of them and seeing some of the nutty combos you can put on new ascendancies. So this one was a big surprise. Just came out of nowhere. Somewhat of a, let's say Frisia style extra ascendancy balance put into the game, and it's pretty cool. So the 3 new bosses we got, the memory ones, now have Uber versions. That honestly looks terrible because holy shit, Ubers are just, rough in this game, and some of these are just going to be probably an absolute mess, especially the one with all the, bullet hell style thing. Whatever, we'll take it on the chin as an extra challenge if we want to do that, but yeah, it's going to be pretty rough. They do come with new items, so this one here looks like it has potential to be pretty big, assuming that you can roll different types of this ring. So with this one, prismatic skills always sap, and instead, potentially, I'm imagining there's going to be a Scorch version, a Brutal version. Those are going to be pretty spicy if those are real, which I think they should be. There's Dagger over here for poison and poison triggers and stuff. Looks like it'll be pretty nutty as well. And then, of course, trade coming into PoE 1. And we already experienced it in PoE 2. And this is going to be pretty damn large. It's super nice if you haven't played around with it in PoE 2 before. It's super nice. You're going to just wake up currency all over the place. The first week or so, you're going to establish such a base. And just, yeah, as a sort of point to make here, there's some like end game nerfs for, sort of end game farming and stuff, like top tier juicing and all that. Whatever nerfs are happening here are heavily outweighed by the fact that you're going to be selling shit like 5 times better than you did before. So yeah, you're still going to be plenty rich, you'll still be making plenty of money, and the trade is a beautiful thing indeed. And then they went over some quality of life features, which are all looking pretty good. Like Heist, for example, you can just start out with leveled rogues. That's going to be a lot of fun to just be able to do your grand heists whenever you want immediately. So good stuff there. And then the challenge reward armor set looks okay for a free challenge reward armor set. It'll be nice to see it fully in game, but for a free set, not too bad. So by all means, make sure you get at least some of these challenges done to get your armor set going. And then there's new supporter packs, and I'll check those out like on stream probably the next time I log in. So the patch notes did come up straight away after the 14-hour podcast with Ziggy D and Mark and Jonathan, and yeah, there's a bit of a mixed bag. There's not too much craziness going on. There's some skill rebalances. There's just slight buffs, tweaks here or there, and just a few nerfs here or there for like your farming and stuff. So I did go over these on stream. If you want to check that out with drunk patch notes, check the VOD. Otherwise, just to quickly go over some stuff. Bloodline ascendancies, of course, the end game changes. So the Uber fragments got chucked onto the tier 17s, but tier 17s do have slightly increased drop rates for their current fragments. So you're still, on average, you're going to be getting a similar amount of like Uber fragments for bosses and all that. The Feared invite now has Cirrus and Incarnation of Dread, which is, I think, the Brontosaurus looking dude, which, yeah, it'll be something interesting instead of Chill and Atziri. Cirrus has potential to be pretty cancer if he's going to be dropping like, degen puddles everywhere, but we'll see how that goes. Something kind of interesting. The hidden instead of the breach lords and stuff is now going to be the memory bros, which honestly should probably be easier, but we'll see how that goes. One of the sort of endgame nerfs people are, I suppose, probably upset about is tier 17 map mods are still pretty cancer, of course, but the extra like rarity and quantity and stuff they were associated with no longer exists. It's just going to be a normal amount. I guess that sucks overall, just because, I'm still super not a fan of what tier 17s are and some of those map mods, and now you're not really getting rewarded for punishing yourself through doing them as much. But they were, I suppose, out of balance with how much they could drop. It's just that it makes it worse, right? It makes tier 17s even less fun. So yeah, still a bit of a problem there. Agreed. Tier 17s. They did at least confirm during their podcast that, or Q&A, that they think tier 17s are not in a good place. They're a problem, and they will be something they tackle eventually, and want to completely like redo. So that's good news at the very least. So Abyss Scarabs, the ones that did hordes as they travel, they're getting nerfed to do something else. I honestly found that to be pretty unfun to do. So yeah, like sure, nerfed one of these strategies, kind of upsetting for some people, but it wasn't great as a mechanic anyway, I don't think. And yeah, you're gonna find something else new to do. Likewise with the Scarab of Risk, limit of one, previously five. That was one of the strategies for like end game juicing as well. As I'm saying here, you're gonna make much more money through the trade, and it just means you're gonna be finding some other strategy. Relax. Someone else will find some crazy shit to be doing, and something else will be better than what you might currently think exists. All that said, just as a bit of a side tangent, the way I play the game, and you probably are aware of, is just play the game. People always ask how I make money, and I quite routinely do end up making some decent amount of money, league after league. And it's just playing the game. There's so many things in the game these days, and so many things that are worth something, that if you just play, you do all content, you engage with like end game bosses, you engage with certain league mechanics, something crazy is going to happen for you, and you will sell something for a lot of money. So, last league, for example, got three passive voices, got a big Watcher's Eye, and made several hundred divines. It just happens, right? If you want to do like these reliable, super juicy strats, then yeah, you're going to make much more reliable div per hour. But if you just want to get out there and make some money eventually, it'll happen. You play lots of the game, something will happen. You farm some simulacrum, something crazy is going to happen eventually. So yeah, there's reliable currency out there to be made. And of course, like I said, someone's just going to come up with some other crazy new strats, and it'll happen. So none of this has me too worried, these like nerfs, because yeah, there's still lots to do, and you're still going to be making lots of currency. So, other than that, we have some Atlas passive tree changes just because Breach is now gone. So, they put, most notably for me, Beyond on the right hand side of the tree, which is going to be kind of interesting. So, I might spec into that for the first time in a while because it might make things a little bit cooler. And it's on the right hand side of the tree, which is usually where I'm specking. League changes, Breach basically, gone, the old Breach, and the new Breach is what we're going to be engaging with. Aside from that, Trouth and Gems are in Heist, so they still exist. Mercenaries currently do not exist anymore. They might bring them back in the future, but rebalance and all that. Otherwise, the gems that they did offer are going to be in Heist. Outside of that, what else should we mention? Syndicate medallions are more common, so Katarina farm is going to be quite a bit more possible. They did get rid of the Gravicious rarity div card thing, so not too sure why that happened. I don't think it was super overpowered or anything. Some people did it and chain farmed for certain, big high-end rewards, but I don't think it was out of line, so yeah, maybe you can be a bit upset about that one. Aside from that, of course, Rogue Exiles also got the bit of a gutting there for the ritual strats that people did. I don't know, maybe that was too good. So yeah, fair enough. And then Suppress went from 50% prevention to 40, which is still really good. So I wouldn't be too worried about that one. It's still going to be something you absolutely do if it's accessible enough for your character, and will still feel pretty damn impactful for a defensive mechanic. I'm perfectly okay with that one. And then some skill gem changes and balances. So across the board for most of these, some skills gain like 15 to 20% more damage, something like that. Some of them just weird little changes where maybe mana got a bit better and it's pretty unimpactful. Blade Fall's a pretty big one. It got 10 crit on all of its things instead of like 6. So Blade Fall's going to be juicy this league, I think. And then the Impaling one, 15 instead of 10. Aside from that, Blink Arrow and Mirror Arrow got nerfed to shit. So if you were like really, into that thing, you got pretty fucked. But apparently it was fairly OP and you could do some dirty things off of very little from that type of playstyle and skill. So yeah, bit of give and take there. But yeah, fairly large nerfs. If you're upset about that one, understandable. Bone Shadow slight buff there, decent buff. Dark Pack, decent buff. Explosive and Poisonous Conch, decent buffs if you're using flask charges. So they want to make sure it's more of a flask charge style mechanic. Fizz Dot, decent buff. I just then made a Fizz Dot build in the previous league and it did okay. If you pull out all the stops, it can do some pretty decent damage and be a decent playstyle. And it's 15% more now. So not too bad. Not too bad. I don't think it's going to be crazy meta or anything, but just a bit more accessible. We have Spectral Helix and Throw, got a little bit more, playable, bit better attack speed, so not too bad there. I made a Spectral Throw of Trathus build last league that was fairly decent for damage, and it happened to just get a little bit more. Storm Rain's a bit better of the alternate ones, a little bit more damage stuff. The Storm Call of Trathus I recently used, so yeah, 15% more. It's still kind of lackluster compared to the other Fizz Dots. Like, you throw it in there anyway if you want, but it needed more love than just this if you're going to buff the others for 15 as well. So that's a bit of a shame, but still, 15 more. Winter Orb kind of being brought back a bit more to its former glory in that you're going to be channeling faster while running around instead of channeling faster while standing still. I played it last league, I played it the league before. It's playable, it's decent, and it's now going to be a little bit more decent. And then Volatile Dead, a pretty substantial buff. So that one's a bit of a surprise. I think Volatile Dead was already okay. And it's going to be, yeah, quite a bit better with Spell Slinger as well, because that's one of the things that's getting changed. So, yep. And Spell Slinger over here, going to be 20% less damage with hits at level 20. That's pretty nutty. So I think we're going to see some Spell Slingers out there. Especially with the new Assassin rework. So Assassin spell slingers are probably on the cards for a lot of people. Yeah, that's mostly what needs to be said there. So with the Ascendancy changes, basically the biggest one is Assassin getting a whole bunch of stuff. It looks good. It looks very poisonous. I think there's going to be a lot of poison assassins out there doing all kinds of all damage from poison, all damage from hits can poison. So it's looking pretty spicy. I might start Assassin myself, maybe some Wanding because that looks exciting. Other than that, Trickster did get a bit of a nerf across the board, so this one got a bit better, but otherwise the good things from Trickster did get kind of nerfed. So the attack and cast speed while leeching is gone. The suppress node is a little bit worse. The one step ahead node is a little bit worse. Instead of always making you, a little bit faster, it now guarantees you're not going to get below a certain amount of speed, which is still good for, slow mechanics and stuff. And yeah, I wouldn't freak out. Like Trickster, the main reason that it's still good, which is being a massive evasion ES tank and then scaling off of that. That's still very good. So Trickster's still pretty playable, and I wouldn't be too freaking out about that if I were you. And then Elementalist, an unfortunate nerf here because I do think the Golem side of things are pretty damn strong, especially stacking with Megalomaniacs, which is a bit of a pain in the dick because they're expensive and hard to get. And that's not what got nerfed. Instead, the actual Elementalist node got nerfed for your buff effect on the Golems. It's kind of understandable. But I wish it was, more of a Megalomaniac or Primordial Bond node kind of nerf instead of the base one. It's still going to be fine, but yeah, bit of a weird one. Other than that, yeah, unique items, a little bit of a rebalance on some unique items. It's mostly to do with the wanding thing, because one of the good things that happened is they are giving you wand base types that can only roll attack modifiers. So with the new wanding skills, we're also getting new base types that are only going to roll attack modifiers, which means you're going to make some pretty good attack wands with a lot less effort than before. So overall, wanding is looking pretty thick this league. Um, and yeah, nothing too crazy to write home about. A few rebalanced on crits for mostly, I guess, the fact that Assassin now has that one node. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it for all of that, I think. A few bug fixes, whatever, whatever, whatever. Overall, looking pretty decent. Overall, should be a good meta shakeup, and overall, a decent new league coming that has big implications. We are talking trade. We are talking smooth as fuck trade. The new ascendancy things, I'm excited to see how that unfolds with what they can do with some of the new ones that we are yet to see. New skills are looking juicy as fuck so far. I think they're putting a good foot forward on those. They look like they're going to be pretty good. Like one of the ones I didn't mention is the kinetic wall that you're going to be able to create. Basically, old frost wall technology, but seemingly better. I think that one's going to be busted for so much like single target for your clear skills and stuff with kinetic blast and various other things. Yeah, kinetic wall looking pretty damn thick. And then yeah, the league mechanic itself I think actually looks like a pretty big reason to be excited about this league, as opposed to most league mechanics sometimes just being, a good thing, but not really the main reason to get into it. It's more about some of the other stuff that's coming. I think this league mechanic is looking thick. It's the first time they're ever like coming back to a league mechanic and giving it a 2.0, and I'm excited to see what they do with those in the future, because they said they are definitely keeping that open. Something like a Harbinger 2.0 I think can be pretty damn juicy. Extra lore and extra mechanic to go with that. In any case, there it is. New league coming in a week. I think it's looking pretty juicy. Hopefully you feel the same way. And yeah, I'm excited. I think it's a good time to be a PoE fan, both for 1 and 2. So with that, thank you very much for watching. See you next time.